Wow. So, if anybody's ever been bullied before, like I was when I was young, I learned something. Well, I got bullied right up until like the end of second grade. And I had my two main adversaries. And I never started anything with them. I would go home terrified of going to school the next day because I knew I would have to deal with them. And then I was given a piece of advice by someone, and I took it to heart. And the next day, as he approached me with his group, his little backup group, because bullies always have a fucking backup group. As he approached me, as he started to open his mouth, I literally hit him in the jaw as hard as I possibly could. And I can tell you that I've always had incredibly strong tendons strength. That's why I was such a good arm wrestler for guys outside of my weight class, because I had strong tendons, okay? Your tendon tells you how hard to work your muscles. He literally landed on his ass, and the look in his face told me that he couldn't see. He was trying to focus and he didn't know what happened, and the look of confusion on his face. And all of his little fucking crew were looking down at him, okay? And what did he do when he got up after getting his ass handed to him by this little skinny kid, right? He didn't come at me anymore. Now he turned to insults. You see, before that it was pushing and pushing. Come on, come on. He wanted to fight. As soon as he got up, he didn't come near me. He just started doing this, running his mouth, okay? Trying to insult me, trying to intimidate me. And I just had a smile on my face. My other bully, by the way, never fucking talked to me again. He never approached me. He never even looked at me. He was totally, he was out of the fucking picture. And the guy that I put on his ass, okay, after that day, he never came back again. You see, what he was trying to do was save face in his abject defeat by me. And all of his fucking crew abandoned him. They abandoned him. He didn't have a crew anymore. That's the first thing I thought of when I read this. This is what Medvedev said. What conclusions can we make? Firstly, it will not be easy. Secondly, in case of a prolonged conflict, a new military alliance will be formed sooner or later by the countries forced by the USA and their pack of castrated dogs. It will be at that moment that the USA will abandon this old hag Europe and the remains of miserable Ukrainians, and the world will come back to the state of balance. You see, that's because the Russians got knocked on their fucking ass, and they're all in shock and trying to figure out what the fuck do we do now, and they're just throwing the kitchen sink. The trouble is like you can hear right here, okay, this guy has no moral fiber. This is not leader material. This is propagandist material. This is not leader material. This is someone who's just been knocked on his fucking ass and is now trying to keep his fucking group together. He needs to make the Russian people and the people with power and money in Russia think that, yeah, we're all that. But they've come to realize that the Ukrainians have the moral law on their side. Not just that, but fucking balls of steel. Okay? Tens of thousands of Ukrainians are being killed every day. Their country was invaded by someone with a dream to reconstitute the USSR. He wanted to reconstitute something that never served anyone but, again, rich oligarchs. And so when you hear him talking about this, the U.S. and their pack of castrated dogs, wow, that is some real, that's UN quality speech right there, huh? This is a guy that's been handed a serious fucking defeat and is now mentally rattled. And so the only thing you can do, like my bully, is do this. I don't think he believed what he was saying to me. I'm gonna kick you, I'm gonna. Well, I'm standing right here. And so this is why I don't like bullies, and for the rest of my life, I'll confront a bully in a heartbeat. And because of the abuse my mom suffered at the hands of my stepdad, I'll fucking confront a guy picking on a woman too. It's just part of my makeup. So when I read this, yeah, this guy is scared. This guy is scared. He's had a wake-up call that he understands the entire world is against him. Castrated dogs? Is that the best you can do? Was that like... You see, he couldn't come up with anything other than castrated dogs. See? Sad. Very sad. I feel sorry for all those conscripted Russians that are being forced to go out and die for the whim of a man. I don't wish death on anyone, even my enemies, okay? But that's what war is. War is destruction of human and material resources to the point where your opponent can no longer fight you. Which is what I did to my bully. He couldn't fight me anymore because he knew what was going to happen. Even my terrifying stepdad, the day I turned 15, I confronted him. I told him, you know what? This is what's going to happen. Every time you show up at my house from now on, if you get out of your car, you're going to have to fight me. If you come to my porch, you're going to have to fight me. If you get out of your car, you're going to have to fight me. And I don't care if I lose. I'll take an ass whooping every time you come over, but I can tell you something, okay? You're not going to get away scot-free. You're no longer going to touch my mother. And he took a couple of steps towards me, like he was going to, and I don't know what he saw. I must have blown up into this giant fucking monster because all of a sudden he stopped and he went, and he shrunk into this little fucking Mexican jealous bastard who'd been choking my mom unconscious for 15 years. He shrunk just like that. Became this little Mexican man, gray-haired Mexican man who was no longer a threat. I don't know what he saw in me, but it terrified him. That's what the Russians are seeing now. They've looked into the eyes of the Ukrainians and found out they fucked up. That their time of being the great Russian nation has come to an end. That the entire world has understood they're not who we thought they were. Of course, we always knew that the military and everything else is being robbed and stolen blind. And, I mentioned a few months back about their nuclear capability. I can tell you right now, after watching what has happened in Ukraine, that half their shit isn't going to leave the silos. Half of their weapons aren't going to leave the silos. Yeah, that's too bad. That, this kind of language comes out of someone, in the upper part of the government. You don't hear Joe Biden speaking like this. You don't hear our government officials, our generals speaking like this. If I was the Russian people, I would say, why don't you just stay home and we don't need you speaking for us anymore because you make us sound like a bully who has had his ass kicked.